And Josephine Robinson bridge the generational gap in the nonprofit world. Each episode dives deep into topics that bring diverse ages togetherness, sparking innovation, understanding, and collaboration. Through engaging interviews and dynamic discussions, Intergenerational Conversation explores how different generations contribute their unique perspectives to shape stronger, more inclusive nonprofit communities. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting your journey, join us as we uncover the power of conversations, shared experiences, and collective wisdom across the age.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening. We're welcome you to Intergenerational Conversations. We're doing our program today on storytelling. And on behalf of my co-host, Kiona Owens, who's not able to be with us today, who just finished a phenomenal events for seniors, over 650 seniors she served with giving out wonderful Mother's Day gifts. So look at us on our Facebook page, and you'll see the wonderful things that we did. We had a wonderful team that worked with us, Dr. Sherrod, who was our last guest, and Denise Dyer, who was with the Inglewood Community Council and volunteers. It was wonderful. But today, our special guest and my dear friend is Pastor Gay Chisum. She's the pastor of the Gifts from God ministry in the Inglewood community and does phenomenal work. And she has a gift. She has lots of gifts, but we're going to focus on her gift on storytelling and using spoken word. So I'd like to introduce Pastor Gay Chisum, and tell us a little bit about yourself, Pastor Gay.
Thank you. I am the pastor of Gifts from God Ministry, where my husband is Apostle St. John Chisum, and we're located 1818 West 74th Street in Inglewood.
Yes.
Yes, and so I am not originally from Chicago. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And so I located here and met my husband, and it's all history.
Okay. I know a little bit, you talk about growing up in Pittsburgh and the gift you have of writing. So tell us a little bit about, and Pastor Gay does a wonderful once-a-year event for children with her church and in the community, where she gives books by Black authors to children. So tell us about how you got interested in the whole issue of writing and storytelling, and I'm sure it has a lot to do with intergenerational connections.
Yes, it does. First of all, as a child around the age of 10, I started writing, and actually it was fiction writing and poetry.
Okay.
And I believe that is just kind of in my DNA. My father loved words, loved Shakespeare, would quote Shakespeare, loved to read. My mother loved to read. But my grandparents, that's where I started hearing the stories.
Okay.
My grandparents were Sunday school teachers.
Okay.
And my grandparents got on the bus and went to the March on Washington and heard Dr. King speak.
Okay.
And so in our family, we just started telling these stories and passing them down from generation to generation, recognizing it's our legacy.
Yes.
And so it was important for us not only to share Bible stories.
Exactly.
But to share those back in the day stories.
Okay.
And so that's how I got that kind of bug for teaching and for telling stories.
Could you give me an example of, you said your grandparents?
Yes.
And our program is on intergenerational conversations. So could you give me a story that your grandparents kind of shared with you and it kind of really stirred you up and got you in, and we'll talk about what you're doing now.
For my grandparents, they came to Pennsylvania from North Carolina.
Okay.
And my grandfather was seeking employment as a steel worker.
Okay.
In Pittsburgh.
Yes. Okay.
But they were not hiring black men.
Wow.
For steel workers in Pittsburgh. And so he had to go a little further outside of the city to Lucerne Mines, Pennsylvania, a coal mining town. Oh. And that's where he settled. And that's where my aunts and uncles, of course, my mother was born. And so they would tell us stories about down south and how it was, the difficulties that they had in growing up. And I remember Grandma taking us down south, and we could not drink at the water fountains.
Yes, yes.
And she used to pack lunches of the fried chicken
and
the biscuits.
And maybe in the shoebox?
Yes. And so they would, tell us those stories of what happened to them and the difficulties and why education was so important to them.
Okay.
And to really encourage us to go to school, stay in school. And it was just passed down from my grandmother to my aunts and uncles. And I had an uncle who just recently passed in 2023. And he was the griot.
Oh, wonderful.
He just told us all kind of stories.
Okay.
And then his sister, my Aunt Ruth, she was another storyteller. And she would hold on to all of these memories, and just every year, anytime we saw her, she would just tell them to us
I
over
think
and over
we've got
again.
a multi-generational discussion. Tell us what a griot is in the African American community.
In the African culture, that is one who holds the stories and passes the stories down.
Okay.
And also with music. And so it's primarily passed down from father to son, but there are also women who tell the stories, and it's passed from mother to daughter.
Sounds.
Yes.
So you were really part of I remember I had a friend that her family were in Pennsylvania, and they were part of the coal miners. So your dad and all of that attributed, and we know that back then they didn't have the kind of safety precautions, so coal miners had to deal with a lot of things. So how did you leave Pittsburgh area and end up in Chicago?
Well, my aunt was here in Chicago.
Okay.
And she was a nurse. And she was an LPN, and she wanted me to follow in nursing, and so I wanted to be an RN. She said, you can't do what I did. You have to go higher.
Exactly.
And, of course, we know that's in our families. And so I attended Allegheny Community College, and it was the very first nursing program in the city for a 2-year program.
Okay.
And so I completed that. I came to Chicago. I took my boards here. And then that becomes a story because I tried to get employment. And when I called on the phone to one of the hospitals, a Jewish hospital,
right,
and said, I'm looking for employment. I'm a new grad. I took my boards. I passed my boards. Oh, they said, oh, wonderful, wonderful. Come in. We have employment for you in peds and surgery. Just name all the different parts. Well, when I walked in, the lady just turned red.
Because of the way you speak, they assumed that you were not an African American.
Yes,
so what they didn't offer it to you?
No. Oh, everything's full. I'm sorry you came.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And so the blessing was that I was hired at Weiss Memorial Hospital.
Okay.
And that's where I started my nursing career.
So nursing and storytelling, very different kinds of professions, but I know Reverend Pastor Gay is an excellent nurse and has been a Paris nurse, but what she's done with writing is really wonderful. So tell me, once you got here and you and your husband started the church,
yes.
But you also, and we want to talk about the intergenerational conversations, Pastor Gay writes these wonderful poems and writing. And we have a group that we're in together called Sisters in the Struggle. And she's given us, what do you call them, writing prompts?
Yes.
So she's helped us to learn how to write. Some of my other Sisters in the Struggle does it well. But also because of what she does, she has a daughter. And I want you to talk a little bit about how you started with your daughter and how she has the gift now.
Yes. When Jaquanda was little, I would start her off with roses are red, violets are blue.
Okay.
Mommy loves you,
Okay.
and Daddy loves you too.
Okay.
And so she just took to poetry. And right now, she is the co-founder with two other women, Jaquanda Salter Villegas and Leda Villegas and Jacinda Bully. The three of them formed Kuumba Links. And Kuumba Links is a youth development arts organization.
Right.
And as I was telling you, they just found their new home.
Great.
And it's at 4755 North on Sheridan.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a wellness center. So they will do dance there, they'll do massage there, they will use all of their gifts in that wellness organization, and it's open to the community. And so Jaquanda has been writing and performing for years. The organization is over 25 years old, but Jaquanda has performed, and then she has taught so many youth. She and the organization have had such an impact on youth across the city. They have artists that have been placed in park districts and schools to teach children how to write, how to perform.
Well, I don't want to stop you because Pastor Gay is modest. Kuumba Links, for those of you that are watching us that are familiar with Young Chicago Authors, which is really a noted writing institution, and they do a thing called Louder Than the Bomb. I don't know if they're still doing it,
Yes.
but Kuumba has won several times.
Oh.
So those of you that, I'm sure it's on social media, on YouTube, and they have worked and did a wonderful job in helping young people express themselves. So one of the things that, in terms of intergenerational conversations, and I know for a fact, writing can soothe you, can get you when you're kind of off balance a little bit. It can help you. And what your daughter and what you have done for young people and women, Pastor Gay is also a part of a group, and I can't, what's the name of the group? They do this
Soul Collective.
Soul Collective, and it's a group of women that do amazing performances, and they write. And I've been able to go to several of their performances. So the intergenerational opportunities and writing, because as our young people and our older people are dealing with stress and trauma, writing can really soothe you. So you want to tell us a little bit. You wrote, Pastor Gay wrote a wonderful piece about Inglewood. We both love Inglewood. And it was the purple, tell us a little bit about
Purple Power flower.
Well, you know, in the community, we have yellow dandelions, but we also have these purple wildflowers. And she wrote a wonderful, powerful poem about that. And I think the use and the power of words and the opportunity for people, because young people with all the social media that happens, we know that Facebook is the older one, but you got TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. The power of words and how people can settle disagreements through words. I mean, you know, they used to, when hip-hop started, they would have, instead of fighting, they would battle it out with words. But in terms of, talk a little bit about how your group, and tell us a little bit about the Soul Collective and what you do in terms of sharing that, the power of words with people of all ages, but specifically across generations.
Yes, the Soul Collective was started by Emily Lansana.
Okay.
And we've known Emily for a number of years because of her relationship to Jaquanda, our daughter.
Okay.
And so I've had Emily come to the church for different occasions to tell stories. And then I found out that she was starting a storytelling class. And so I joined that, and then she asked me to be a part of Soul Collective. It's a group of Black women who have come together to share their stories. Stories are healing.
Yes.
And each of us had an opportunity to share through prompts that Emily gave us, and then to perform. We performed at the Silver Room in Hyde Park, and we performed on YouTube, and it's still going on. I had to step back due to ministerial responsibilities, but I go and I attend. But it's such a wonderful experience to listen to women as they perform and as they share out of their spirit those stories that are so healing because they resonate with you based upon where you are in your life. And so the women who participate, I think I was the oldest, being 75.
Looking marvelous, looking marvelous.
But from my age down into the 20s, I believe the youngest was. But they are continuing to write and perform. And it's really an awesome experience to share what you have. And so I've tried to share that with younger women. I tried to share it with the children in our church. And as you said, with our group, Sisters in the Struggle, by allowing people to express what is inside of them and recognizing that if you tell your story, it will resonate with someone else, and then you will encourage them to share their story.
So we talk about, and they also perform at the Logan Center at the University of Chicago and do wonderful, wonderful events there. I think the power of the written word and the spoken word is really powerful, and it also can help as people are dealing with trauma and acute childhood experiences. Those of you that don't know, it's called ACEs, and most of us have had one or two, but the more ACEs you have, the more things that you have to overcome. And journaling and writing, could you kind of talk about how you've been able to see that help young people and young mothers or older people kind of deal with the trauma that they faced?
Well, we know that as a people, we've experienced a lot of trauma based upon our experiences, whether it was in our home, whether it was from the community, and the opportunity for children and adults to write it out, to speak it out, is healing. And so we encourage our youth to write because our youth, they are really stressed. They are living in a time where we did not experience. I was talking about this in my message on Sunday. Even you can be in your home trying to sleep and you're hearing gunshots or you're hearing people screaming. There are so many different stressors that are going on, and children are experiencing stress. And we have to recognize that and give them an opportunity, a space, a safe space to write, to express themselves. And I think that that's something that we have to encourage parents to let them know that this is a good thing, that they can express themselves through writing, they can express themselves through spoken word. And we just need to pass that down so that we are less stressed and our children are less stressed.
Well, the whole art of storytelling, and those of us that have worked in the nonprofit world in different settings, ran social service agencies, youth development agencies, what would you how would you encourage people to use that as another tool to work on? Because one of the things is that young people have these talents, and everybody doesn't have the sports talent. Everybody doesn't have the singing talent. But storytelling is an art in itself. Mm-hmm. And basically, we don't think about it, but films, that's all they are just massive storytellers who have been able to do it on a different scale. So how would you encourage people to use it as a part of what they're doing, even if they're doing it in their nonprofit or in their church, just really talking about how storytelling and the art of storytelling, both verbally and written, can help people?
Well, I think it's important to let people know, their organization or their churches, that give the children especially an opportunity. Find out what they're interested in. Mm-hmm. And just recently, I think it was last year, when I met with some children, and I told them, you have a story.
Yes.
You have a story. You are special. You are unique. And we want to hear your story. We want to give you an opportunity to express what is going on inside of you. Mm-hmm. And I think just allowing them, giving them permission mm-hmm. to express themselves will be so beneficial to them. And I even told the young lady, one of the young ladies who wrote her story, I said, if you will allow me, I will help you get this published.
Oh, excellent.
And so I think, we need to let them know that there are Black authors. Like when we have, once a year, we have our Black author book fair. You can write a story too.
Exactly.
Your story is important too. Your story is important to your family. Mm-hmm. And so I just think we need to allow them that safe space to express themselves and encourage organizations and churches to get them to write, because they don't necessarily believe that they have the ability to do that. Mm-hmm. And then when you give them that time and space and they see what they've done, and you give them an opportunity to read their story and you celebrate them, it's going to touch them, and it's going to increase their self-esteem.
And I think the other end is that those of us that are seniors, sometimes we don't feel that we are seen and that we have a story to tell. And one of the things in working with Kiona doing this Mother's Day event, we've had an opportunity to see hundreds of seniors, and many of them have amazing stories that they want to tell. Yeah. So the notion is that for us to be more deliberate, because we've got and sometimes children don't think they're being seen, seniors don't think they're being seen, and then people in the middle don't think. And I think one of the things about writing and storytelling, you can pass it down, and we as African Americans do it a lot verbally. Yes. But I think to write it, Pastor Gay has a book, and I'm excited it's going to come out soon, a children's book. And more people are realizing that children need to be seen. And I think also we need to celebrate our seniors and our parents that are going through the parenting process. And storytelling is really deliberate, because when you're at a community center or you're at a church, storytelling is so, I grew up in church, and sermons are storytelling. Yes. And we get a good sermon can start you on your way, or a good book. And if you can get young people to write and journal, and I'm sure Pastor Gay has given us journals to write and prayer devotions. And I think the notion of being with yourself, but also being able to share it with others, is really important. So you want to talk about the importance of journaling and storytelling?
Yes. Journaling is also healing.
Yes.
When you are able to express what is going on in your life and to write it down, it makes it real.
Yes.
And then to be able to read it back.
Okay, we're 1 minute. Okay. So we're going to wrap up. told you this time goes really fast, but Pastor Gay gives from God's ministry, and next month we're going to deal with the whole notion of fundraising and philanthropic, and we know the times in which we're in today, we need to do that. On behalf of our Executive Director Kiona Owens and Touch Give Foundation, as well as the Cradle to Success Coalition, thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing and hopefully you seeing us next month as we deal with the notion of fundraising and philanthropic. Thank you so much for tuning in with us today, and thank you, Pastor Gay. I told you it'd go so fast, but hopefully you got some nuggets that you can do some things with. So thank you again. We appreciate you so much. Yes, thank you. Didn't he go back?
Welcome to Intergenerational Conversations, where hosts Kiona Owens and Josephine Robinson bridge the generational gap in the nonprofit world. Each episode dives deep into topics that bring diverse ages togetherness, sparking innovation, understanding, and collaboration. Through engaging interviews and dynamic discussions, Intergenerational Conversation explores how different generations contribute their unique perspectives to shape stronger, more inclusive nonprofit communities. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting your journey, join us as we uncover the power of conversations, shared experiences, and collective wisdom across the age.